Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. First day of access to 2025 Patriots training camp occurred today, a Tuesday. We have Mike Vrabel, we have Brendan Schooler, we had Hunter Henry, and even Christian Gonzalez, the tight-lipped wonder who plays cornerback. He didn't say much, Phil.
He really doesn't. He's very reminiscent of Stefon Gilmore in a variety of ways.
Yeah, Senator Phil Perry alongside. Stefon Gilmore won the Media Good Guy Award.
He did always available and would actually occasionally say some things, but he would say it in such sort of a flatline way that it didn't sound like much, and then you might go back and listen to it later in your quarter and be like, whoa, he just tore that receiver that he's about to face this week to shreds.
A newie.
Yeah, loved him for that.
Tear him a newie. Listen, we're going to get to Christian Gonzalez because Mike Vrabel in his opening press conference really was a fun press conference in a lot of ways. There wasn't a lot of news. We'll get to the housekeeping, but he also had an interesting response to a question about Christian Gonzalez. We're going to delve into that. We're also going to delve into the heat index in Foxborough this July. Who's the heat on as camp begins? Mostly. I did that story, and then Phil has some camp storylines we're going to get into. But first things first, bring you up to date. You probably know it already. Stefon Diggs has passed his physical. We were able to square that away. He will be on no limitations. However, he's not going to play every snap, as Mike Vrabel pointed out, because nobody does. Also, Terrell Williams, defensive coordinator, will be in-house when camp starts. Jelani Tavai, Austin Hooper, Mac Hollins, Vidarian Lowe. Basically everybody in the next 2 days will be out there and getting active. Here's what Mike Vrabel said about his priorities for the 2025 training camp as it opens, not for the season, just as camp opens.
I think our objectives that we're going to talk to him about and have talked to him about is it's time to build a team. You know, we have to start coming together as a football team, and the groups that we're going to use and the special teams unit and the different personnel groupings on offense and on defense, and that all has to come together, and that has to happen. The other thing is they have to earn a role, and that's a great time for them to personally earn a role through training camp, is what they can do for the team, how they can help us, how they can help themselves.
Phil, nothing has really happened in the 5 weeks since passing camp and minicamp concluded, so there's no new ground for Vrabel to really cover. What was your impression of, I guess, his overall tenor and any messages you heard?
Yeah, it just seemed to me like a guy who's ready to get down to business. And we heard that from some of the players after the fact, once Vrabel was done with his press conference. And we heard, those guys that Tom just rattled off, the guys we were able to talk to, echo those same kinds of sentiments that, you've got to be on your P's and Q's with this guy. We found that out today in one back and forth that Vrabel had with Ben Volen, which I'm sure we'll get to a little bit later, of the Boston Globe. So that to me seemed like the overall feel from Vrabel at the podium. Did you have the same experience?
Yeah, same experience. He was upbeat. He wasn't agitated. He was ready to go. It's funny, I'm a big body language guy, and when he answers questions, he does tend to look down and think and concentrate on what he's saying as opposed to making a ton of eye contact. Mm-hmm. But then there's occasions when he's engaging when there's much more eye contact. So I think he goes in between, here's the message I want to send here, and here's an engagement moment with me and this reporter and the fan base. So I like watching the way guys operate at the podium, but he has a very, I think, specific set of goals that when he goes to the podium right now, as to the things he wants us to do in terms of how we cover the team. Which brings me to the Christian Gonzalez thing. You have something you're going to say, and then I'll get to the Gonzalez. What were you going to say?
No, I'm interested in that last comment that you just made. But I was going to give for instance, in terms of the amount of thought that he's putting into these answers. And he was up there for a while today.
Yeah.
Was it 15 minutes or so? It felt somewhere thereabouts. I asked him a question about, just the kinds of creative things you might do as a coaching staff to work your players hard, but not to overwork them physically and, drive them into the ground before the season even starts. And he kind of had to build up to it. And you could tell he was thinking as words were coming out of his mouth, well, we're in the meeting rooms all the time, and we're going to stress those guys in there, and we're going to ask them a lot of questions. Oh, but here's this drill that you're actually going to see during practice during the week this week, and it might look a little funky, but that's the best answer to the question that you just asked me, Phil. He didn't say it in those words, but that's essentially what he's doing. He's like going through these gymnastics to try to give you something.
Yeah.
Which hasn't obviously been our experience for a long time covering this team.
When Vrabel was asked about Christian Gonzalez kind of later on in the press conference. He was asked and was phrased, relative to Drake May, what are you seeing from Gonzalez and what are the expectations? And it was interesting because here's the answer that Vrabel gives. And notice that nowhere in this answer does he mention specifically Christian Gonzalez, nor does he mention anything about on-field production. Listen to this answer, and then we'll talk about maybe why this was the answer coming out of it.
You know, my job and my biggest job and one of my most important jobs is try to get the individual to be able to maximize their earning potential within what we're trying to do as a football team, right? Those two things can coincide. And we all understand, like, we're in this business, we're in professional sports outside of winning to provide for our family. Like that's what this is. It's professional sports. And so with that is you have this individual element and you have this team, and they have to coexist. And you have to allow players to understand that, show them where they're doing things to help themselves, but maybe not the team, and then show them examples where they're helping themselves as well as the team, and understanding how, you know, those pieces can fit together.
So I hear that answer, Phil, and I'm like, why is he veering to earning potential and families and supporting your family and things like that? Every player, of course, does that. But why did the name Christian Gonzalez bring that to mind? And here's my theory. Christian Gonzalez is probably about to make over $100 million with his next deal. Am I wrong? 5, 20? Yeah, it's over 100. He should be making $20, $25 million a year if he continues on the same arc. So in order for that to happen, he will be interested in seeing his role continue, and he'll want to be an all-pro player again. And all-pro players are shutdown corners who oftentimes travel with the best receivers. It helps your Q rating. It helps the perception of you across the league, all that. I don't know if Christian Gonzalez has already intimated that, hey, these are the things I want to do. But in the instance of Vrabel saying, and this is a theory, saying in the context of Christian Gonzalez, hey, everybody wants to make a shit ton of money. I want you to make a shit ton of money. There's going to be occasions, though, where we might ask players to do things that are not specifically designed to help their individual stock, but it'll all come out in the wash. And I look at Gonzalez and say, well, why him? Why that? And it might be because could be occasions this year where, whether it's Gonzalez or May or any player, they're going to ask him to do things that maybe don't lend themselves specifically to highlighting their skills. And that happens with defensive ends. That happens, for instance, Chandler Jones or maybe Keon White a little bit. That happens with cornerbacks who don't get allowed to travel. Do you think that's a pretty good theory as to why? Because I think that's an instance he was trying to send a message to Gonzalez through the media with his answer. We don't know that that's the fact, but it's a theory as to why.
I think it's a great theory, and I think it's especially pertinent because we just saw a team in their division pay Sauce Gardner the biggest contract we've ever seen a cornerback at. He got $120 million over 4 years, with almost $90 million of that guaranteed. And so that's at
Exhibit
least,
A,
right?
$30 million.
I say it's at least. Now, Sauce Gardner is a 2-time All-Pro. Christian Gonzalez isn't there yet. But what you're talking about, where Vrabel is explaining how there might be moments where a player is helping himself but not helping the team, and maybe giving them a demerit because of that, on tape, and then showing the moments where they're helping themselves and they're helping the team. I think that's valuable because as a coach, okay, you're showing him this is how you can help us and you're going to get paid still. And I wonder if Sauce Gardner, I know I'm veering into the Sauce Gardner territory, but I think he just got this contract. Christian Gonzalez has to know that. He had a horrible year last year. Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
He was, all-pro as a rookie, all-pro as a second-year guy, first-team all-pro, one of the best in the league, widely regarded. You're probably voting for him as an all-pro guy, all-pro voter, those first 2 years. Last year, he wasn't even a Pro Bowler.
Nope.
And I wonder if Vrabel would even show Christian Gonzalez Sauce Gardner tape and say, we don't need this from you.
Third year. You don't need a third year.
As a third year. This is an instance where he went to go get a pick and it didn't work out for him. He gave up an explosive play. This is an instance where he should have and could have made a tackle to stop this running back who weighs 20 pounds more than him for a 2-yard gain, but he made a business decision and it turned into a 7-yard game. We don't need that from you. You can do both. You can do the thing that we need you to do and still get your money. I've been there, but I think as a player, Mike Vrabel has the leeway to show them and explain to them these kinds of things because he's been in their shoes before and it carries a little bit more weight.
Yeah. So the upshot is we listen to these press conferences. We're still getting used to Mike Vrabel, head coach, New England Patriots. So we will be interpreting, trying to read the tea leaves on what he's talking about. One of the interesting tea leaves that we were able to read in January was when he was asked, or when he stated, wasn't even asked, we need to be good enough to take advantage of bad football, and I'm not sure we're there yet. And Vrabel, I asked him today, are they more able to take advantage of bad football? It's early. But are they able even to identify what bad football is? Because every coach has a different definition. Here's Vrabel's answer.
Well, we're closer than where we were in March or April when we got here. I think we are. I think the players start to understand. We talk about the good, the bad, and the shit that gets you beat, and I think that they can tell the difference between those three now. And my job is to try to get them to. We have to eliminate the stuff that gets you beat, and we just have to correct the bad, and we have to continue and enhance the good stuff that we do. So those are the 3 buckets of film, that we show them. And I can't just always just sit there and show them the stuff that gets you beat, because that gets old as a player. You're like, I can't just see this all the time, and I can't just show them all the good stuff so I just try to, every time there's film, I try to show them those 3 buckets.
And we might as well roll it now because it actually dovetails nicely. Ben Volen from the Boston Globe, far be it from me to say a repetitive question. Over the course of time, I've done it myself. Did somebody ask that? I'm sorry. But Ben Volen, sitting just 2 seats down from me and there for the entire press conference, not only asked the same question, but used the same quote. And he's halfway through the question. Here, listen to it.
Mike, you called the 5 weeks over the summer, I think, one of the most important parts, the most important part of the offseason. Just now that the guys are back, I know there's 90 of them, but generally speaking.
91,
international pathway. How'd they do? How do you feel about how the guys came back?
I mean, whether you were in a coma when I answered Tom's question or typing on your phone or tweeting, I don't know, but I spent 5 minutes answering that question. And I can go back through it, but I'd rather not. We won't know. We did pretty good on the linear run test, which they practiced. They know what it was going to be. The big thing will come when they're in line contact. I mean, and you're sitting there, you're wrestling with a guy, and then the D lineman's rushing. He almost gets to the quarterback, but we're telling him to plant and run and go sprint to the football, and then go do it again. Or we're asking Kyle Williams to go run a post, and he didn't get the ball, but he wanted to get the ball, but he didn't. Can he run back, get set, know what to do the next play? That's really where we'll see. So I'll be able to answer that question, again, hopefully only once in a few days.
All right. Yuck. Poor Ben. He gave a better answer to Ben than he did to me. He gave a much more specific answer in that, look, if you're going to be in condition, I need you to be in condition to run down the field and then come back. Not just straight line, inline conditioning. You can run some sprints. Can you run, get hit, fall down, pick yourself up, run back to the huddle and do it again? Or do you need to go, I'm out for a minute?
I just find it funny because, Mike Vrabel in that moment became a little bit like the Will Ferrell character in Austin Powers. Are you familiar? You familiar with this character? He had the fez. He also was the guy where he was some sort of spy, and as long as you asked him something, he just couldn't handle being asked the same question 3 times in a row. So he would give up any secret as long as you just asked the exact same. No, I won't tell you. No, I can't tell you. And then the 3rd time, he'd just give you everything. You're basically describing that's what happened because he got asked the same question, essentially 2 questions in a row, almost verbatim, and he gave a better answer the second time. So this is just clearly the
tactic.
This is, yes, the approach we're going to have to take in these press conferences. If you ask a question or if I ask a question and I don't get a great answer, I'm going to need you to just follow up word for word with the same question and see if we get something better.
I think it'd be better if we gave a little lead time in between, though.
Okay.
Like 3-4 questions and then bang it right back with actually the same verbiage used.
No, it was a good answer though, but it also was, it was a little bit of a window into how meetings are probably going behind the scenes, whether you're a coach or a player with him, right? We just went over that.
You in a coma?
I mean, what's happening here right now? Are you punking me? He said that at one point. So it was yes. We've all been there before, by the way, and I did it about 1,000 times with Belichick, especially after games. I kicked down the door to the press conference room after being in the locker room,
yes.
and he'd be 5 minutes into a press conference, and I'd ask a question that had been asked, 2 minutes earlier. So
but you
we've all
weren't
been
in the
there.
room.
Well,
you do have that cover.
but we've all been there. It's it was an interesting moment, though, to say the least.
The great thing about that Gonzalez quote that we've already used and talked about, I didn't know the question was about Christian Gonzalez. I was zoned out, and then I heard him talking about business, and I was like, it's a really interesting answer. Who's he talking about?
And then you get the transcript later and you say, wow. Huh?
I knew that was Christian
Interesting,
Gonzalez.
yeah.
So, enough said. Patriots are about to get going. They will get going tomorrow. Phil and I are obviously going to be at practice. It's just an early ramp-up period. They're not going to be swapping no paint in the trenches for the first few days. They'll be swapping paint next week, and then against Washington Commanders. But so get down there if you want to. It's not great stuff in terms of a product, really, yet for the spectators. But let's tie a bow on that stuff and get to a couple camp storylines.
Okay.
Hunter Henry, Schooler, Gonzalez, there was nothing there. Let them start playing football and
I
seeing
agree.
some stuff.
I agree. In terms of camp storylines, to me, the number one storyline, because I think this guy might be able to impact their season in a way nobody else can outside of Drake May, is the health and readiness of Stefon Diggs.
Are you surprised he is full go, ready to go? I definitely am.
He's full go. He's ready to go. He's not on PUP. It is stunning, quite frankly, especially given that he's going to be 32 in November. And he is a guy that suffered this injury mid-season last season. So, this isn't Julian Edelman 2017 where he tears his ACL in Detroit in a preseason game. And
right.
Then he has all year to come back, and he does come back. He was suspended 4 games for using PEDs that 2018 season, but ended up having a monster 2018 season, and then he's Super Bowl MVP by the end of that year. Do you think he's going to have a year like that? Because
Yes.
I think people locally, okay, you do too. Because I feel like he's going to be that good, and I just can't get there. It's just such a different situation, in my opinion. But why do you think he's going to be that good?
Because, all roads lead to Stefon Diggs. You're not going to look at Kendrick Bourne. You're not going to look necessarily at Demario Douglas. With Stefon Diggs, you're probably not going to look at Hunter Henry. You're not going to look at Kayshon Boutte. You're not going to look at Kyle Williams. When you're Drake May and you go back and you say it's 3rd and 6, I need 8, you're going to look for Stefon Diggs first. Then you might hit Henry. Then you might hit, Travion Henderson or Bourne or Demario Douglas. But if I'm Drake May, I'm looking at a guy who was on pace for 1,000 yards last year, has been a 1,500-yard receiver in the past. And I think if he's healthy, he's going to get banged the football. I think he's going to get – I would put the over-under on his production at 70 catches, 1,050 yards, 1,050.
Man, that's an awesome year. And if he has that kind of year,
Is
I'm
that
not
like
saying it's
13 yards
impossible.
a catch?
I'm not saying it's impossible.
That might be like 13 yards a catch.
I have no idea. I can't do math that quickly.
My
It's a
phone's
really good. A 1,000-yard season's a really good season. It's a really good. It's not an amazing season. It's not an all-pro season, but it's a really good season. Terry McLaurin has 1,000 yards every single year in Washington.
It is important.
He had
to realize
1,000 yards last year. He's
See,
younger. He's got a better quarterback. We're expecting to be Terry McLaurin his first year in New England as a 32-year-old.
Terry McLaurin's trying to be Stefon Diggs. Terry McLaurin has never been as good as Stefon Diggs at Stefon Diggs' best. So they might be passing each other on the ladder.
No, yes, exactly. Stefon Diggs is 32. He's not his best.
I'm 57. I could beat you in a race right now.
You probably could. But Stefon Diggs is at an age where receivers, generally speaking, decline. And I would just say, too, and I'll have some more detail on this on the next Pats podcast, but receivers coming off of torn ACLs in general, never mind guys that are over 30, in general, have a hard time bouncing back and being themselves the following season.
He's not catching 70 balls for 1050. That's 15 yards per catch. It's like Stanley Morgan.
But I think there are a lot of people out there who believe that he's going to have that kind of year. Like Wes Welker, and God, talk about a bounce back recovery from his torn ACL. It's a long time ago now, too. 2009 tears it at the very end of the season. Somehow
Playoff game.
Back for the
final game.
Somehow is back for the beginning of the following season, and has about a 900-yard year.
Yeah.
But those guys, Welker, and he was closer in age to Diggs. Edelman in 2018, close in age to Diggs, in terms of being, near the ends of their careers. Those guys knew the offense they were in like the backs of their hands, and they were playing with the best quarterback of all time, and they shared a brain. That's not happening here in New England for Stefon Diggs. It might look that way by midseason. I leave open the possibility that he blows all of our minds and he exceeds all my expectations because I think my bar is lower than most. But it's a new place, a new quarterback, a new coordinator. I know he's been in the Dayball system before. It's a new offense. He's older and he's coming off a really difficult injury to bounce back from. It's not a great recipe for a quote-unquote number one caliber receiver type of season.
I appreciate all your vantage points. However, I do think that Josh McDaniels is skilled enough as a play caller to game things up to get him open. Look, they have to deal with Douglas underneath. They have to deal with Hunter Henry. They have to deal with Travion Henderson. They have to have a linebacker on him. Let's get Diggs here, there,
You just
running
told
the
me
out.
Drake May's not looking for any of those guys.
No, he's not, but the defense has to. They can't leave him naked and alone and put six guys on Diggs.
I would say they probably are just going to focus on Diggs, and it's going to leave things like he's not the kind of guy you can't take away anymore. He's just not that athlete anymore.
How do you know? I mean, he was having a great year last year.
He's a slot receiver.
Okay. How about this then? I will acknowledge that Stefon Diggs is going to have some 2-catch, 19-yard games. That is definitely going to happen.
Those are going to be tough games.
Those are going
for
to
them
two catches, 8 targets, 19 yards. That it happens.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot with Patriots. But he also might have a couple of 6 and 107s, 9 and 138s. So there's going to be weeks in which it explodes for him. The same way it would sometimes when they played a team that was playing cover 3 and all of a sudden Jimmy White could be written down for 12 catches or Shane Vereen or whoever was in the backfield because they knew that was going to open up. There are going to be teams that they're going to be able to exploit with Diggs. Do you think that Diggs is the key to the Patriots' potential playoff success?
Yes, because if he goes over those numbers that you gave us the over-under for early in this conversation, if he goes over that,
Those are unrealistic. That's 15 yards per catch. You can't do that.
so is he not a 1,000-yard receiver?
It's 70.
You had him at 1050.
I'm going to put him at 75 and 950.
Okay. There's a 100-yard difference. I'll round up and call that a 1,000-yard receiver. If he's a 1,000-yard receiver, I think they win at least one more game than I was anticipating they would, which would make them a 10-win team and a playoff team for sure. Right now, I think they'll probably win 8 or 9, and they'll be kind of on the fringe, and they'll be in the playoff conversation late in the season. That's just the kind of team I think they are right now, and that's with Diggs. I want to be clear. I don't think he's going to be bad. I just think the bar has been set really, really high for a guy who lasted very late into free agency for reasons.
Because he had a bad ACL, which is now fixed, all fixed.
True.
All right.
He is in better shape now than he was when he was looking to sign with somebody. That's fair. I just think it's probably, to me, the more realistic number is closer to 750 than 950.
It's really funny when you think about that. And I'm not poking holes in your argument, but if Stefon Diggs was fully healed and you knew it and was hitting free agency and you knew he was going to be good to go as a free agent prospect, I wonder how many teams would have lined up to sign him for more than the Patriots got. Now, we don't know if he's the bargain. He might end up not being the bargain we think, and maybe he rushed it, and maybe he's going to have to be, pulled back a little bit on the reins. But to me, it's interesting. I want to play this game.
Fully healed and yourself are two different things, is something I would just point out. It takes a while. Sometimes for some guys, you can be back on the field and playing, and you're still wondering what's going on with that knee down there.
Hey, what's going on with that knee down there? We're going to play Heat Index Bracket Challenge. This has just come to me as an idea.
Uh-oh.
And I'm going to make Phil do this. So we're going to do matchups within the Heat Index that I did with 13 different individuals. And Phil will then answer who's got more heat on them.
I like this.
Phil,
This is going to work.
heat index bracket matchup number 1. Ramondre Stevenson or Stefon Diggs? Who has more heat on them?
Ramondre Stevenson. Ramondre Stevenson's coming off a bad year last year. 7 fumbles. 2 years in a row. You and I both agree on this. He probably hasn't been the best Patriots running back since 2022. And so after drafting a running back in the second round, you're not just taking him for fun. That's not just a funsies kind of pick. That's a valuable pick for a team that needs offensive help. He's going to get some touches. He's going to get a lot of snaps. There's real heat on Ramondre Stevenson for a guy who just got paid an off season ago.
Heat index bracket challenge number 2. Mike Onwenu versus Milton Williams. Who's more heat on?
Ooh. See, Milton Williams does have heat on him that maybe people aren't expecting. He has to perform, being as highly paid as he is as a pass rusher, but he's also, because he's being paid so much, he's going to be asked to play in all these other situations that he really didn't have to play all that often in Philadelphia. I'm going to go with Mike Onwenu still.
Yeah.
He's got to be really good. He's getting paid a ton himself, and he's got to be so solid on the interior of their offensive line because, there are 2 other real question marks on the interior there. And if they're weak on the interior, it's going to be another rough year for the young quarterback. Can't have it.
Heat index number 3.
I don't like how you're not voting on any of these, but let's keep going.
I'm trying to keep this thing tight.
Okay, all
People don't have all friggin' day.
Sure they do.
Drake May, the quarterback, versus offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels. Who is under more heat to perform this year?
It's Drake May.
Not that.
It's Drake May.
I agree, Jeremy. Jeremy's doing sound effects. He did booze.
Well,
I just
listen,
don't think it's the layup you think it is.
if he's throwing bad interceptions, and as much
McDaniels
as
is going to get blamed.
as much as I like him, he's way up there or down there, however you want to look at it. He wasn't good when it came to things like turnover-worthy plays, which factor in plays that didn't even end up as being turnovers, but maybe could have been or should have been. If that doesn't get fixed, is that Josh McDaniels' fault, or are people going to start to look at Drake May and just say, we were calling him a wild stallion as a rookie, and that's fine. Now he's just sort of starting to look a little broken in year 2.
I don't know. I think
people would put that on McDaniels?
I think it's almost a dead heat. Yes, they will, because I think that the McDaniels deniers are legion.
That's true. I didn't factor that
They're
in.
legion. How about this one? Who's going to get more business given to them if the Patriots are not successful? Mike Vrabel or the owner Robert Kraft?
Well, the one who's going to accept more business, willingly or not, is going to be Vrabel just because he's more available. But in terms of like radio callers, right? Mm-hmm. Or fans in general who don't have necessarily access to either one, I still think it's going to be Vrabel, because I think people look at this team and they say, playoffs,
right?
Let's go. We're back, baby. Diggs, 1,000 yards. Drake May's going to be a top 10 quarterback. Like there's a realistic, like it's not insane. We've seen crazier things happen, but I think if all
turn that off.
The sounds, I can't. Thank God I don't have my IFB, and this is what you get for wearing an IFB.
He had people screaming for like 40 seconds. I mean, I love it. I shouldn't have told him how much I enjoyed it. He went crazy with that one.
Don't you think it'll be Vrabel?
I do think it'll be Vrabel.
It's not like they didn't spend this offseason.
But there will be more. Well, there's $60 million in cap
I
space.
know.
People are not going to look at the details of why there's $60 million, which is because Ronnie Stanley didn't want to come here and Chris Godwin didn't want to come here and a variety of other players didn't want to come here. Be that as it may. More heat on them. Elliott Wolf or
Elliott Wolf, I think, is the answer, but go ahead.
Harold Landry. I forgot.
Sorry. Did I break your concentration and you forgot
I
the
can't
name?
remember who the other guy was going to do. It wasn't Harold Landry.
Elliott Wolf. Yeah. I
mean,
don't know who else. Who would be like a
how
proper...
about Jalen Polk? Elliott Wolf or Jalen Polk?
Oh, that's an interesting one, sort of off the board. I mean, there's real heat on Elliott Wolf, isn't there?
Yeah,
There's real heat on Elliott Wolf.
Let's roll through.
I mean,
the
Jalen
reason
Polk.
why.
But if Jalen Polk doesn't do well in training camp, like his career might be over.
So you got Jalen Polk, you got Javon Baker. You have Shooks Okorafor. I'm using these players as they've blown up in the Patriots' hands. Devon Godshaw, they just gave an extension to last year. He's gone. Stevenson is kind of still remains in the doghouse. He can extract himself, and I think he probably will. But that was a redo. Duggar, this is another contract. He has something to prove this year. I could have used Duggar against Onwenu, or Duggar against
Just about everybody
Wolf.
they paid last year did not get better
Yeah.
or really live up to what we were thinking they would do.
I mean, who else?
Christian Barmore, for reasons out of his control,
Right.
he gets a big deal. And
But look at these receivers. Look at the first round pick last year was a good player. It was May. Jesus Christ. Polk. Who was the third round pick last year?
Caden Wallace.
Oh, yeah. Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson. So he's your trigger puller. And they've had to release and move on from a number of players who Wolf was at least in the building for the management decisions made on retaining them or drafting them, whether it be Cole Strange or Tyquan Thornton, whatever, as was Matt Groh. So I can't imagine that they have to sweep out more of these guys like Polk or City So or any of these guys.
Baker. Layden
Baker.
Robinson feels like he's kind of just fallen out of the equation. I mean, that's a guard you took in the fourth round. You take a guard in the fourth round, that's not a throwaway pick. Like Caden Wallace should be able to play somewhere on the line. Layden
should
Wallace should
City
be able
So.
to play. So should be able to play. But at least when City So was here, Bill was still here, so I guess he has some cover.
Oh, he's got so much cover.
It's
I mean, it just continues to be.
Yeah.
Well,
I think what makes it especially difficult for him, and I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon necessarily, but I'll always go back to that conversation we had with Thomas Dimitroff at the Super Bowl, where he was talking about the dynamic right now, where you've brought in a general manager level person who is very tight with the head coach, who's now in all these meetings, and it seemed like at the draft everyone was working well together. So Ryan Cowden's here, and he's, again, everything looked simpatico, Tom, this offseason. And I'm not saying it's not, but it is an odd dynamic. It's unusual, and Dimitroff was very clear in saying that has to be tough for Wolf, because anytime maybe Cowden and Vrabel are having a one-on-one sort of conversation, you're, somewhere in the back of your mind, you're maybe wondering what they're talking about.
And why do you want to pay a bunch of money to a general manager who's generally managed to not do a good job? All right, that's going to be a wrap for this particular podcast. We are going to be with you. We'll give you our 90-second update immediately after practice. Look for that. Phil, as always, will be doing some of his impressions. He keeps the numbers. I don't. I'm an overview guy. We're going to do a wide receiver watch on each practice. We might do a May watch. I don't want to commit Phil to that now.
Oh, yeah, we'll do a May watch.
Okay,
We'll do a
May watch.
Yeah.
As always, follow our social media feeds, because our folks like Adam Hart and the rest of the creative team and our digital folks led by Darren Hartwell, Justin Leisure. I'm going to name everybody. We're going to lose people, right? Annie Hall, Casey, Dallin,
Alex,
Ryan. Okay.
Kevin
Miller?
No, Ducharme.
Oh.
Kevin Miller too, sure.
Yeah.
Skull Crusher.
The Crush. Okay, so all those guys are going to make sure that you are up to date with the best coverage in the market for your football team. And I stand by that. Until tomorrow. Goodbye.